and we're
Why are you
singing
still so
and
close? Honestly, nobody knows
we
because
don't
we're not
know.
friends.
I think I knew Tracy existed in 2012.
Well, more than 26
Birth just came out of our mother.
Actually met when we were kids. We met when we were, we don't even know the age, honestly. We have pictures together. We have pictures together from Adventurous Club. It's such a cool picture we should share with you with our mutual godbrother, which is hilarious. But our parents, we and us grew up in the same church in Connecticut. And he moved here when he was about 8. He started coming to Gethsemane in the 19, and so we had all lost contact. And then we reconnected when I came here for grad school. I was just in church one week and I heard him yelling my name, like, "Hey, Camille, Phil." And that was like 16 years later.
Yeah.
Yesterday actually. I'm just kidding. 2 years?
Yeah.
Here
At church.
at Emmanuel Temple.
In church.
Yeah, I saw her on the first night of the conference, Wednesday night, and but I approached her the following night, Thursday night. Yeah.
But come to find out though, the approach was a little different because I was kind of told who I was. Yeah. So he like came up to me and like I heard someone's voice go, "Hi, are you Marcia McD?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like did I leave my purse somewhere?" Or like I'm sorry, hi, like how do you know my name? And then he's like, "Yeah, Facebook." And I'm just like, "Oh, I didn't know we were friends on Facebook." Then I go home, check my Facebook, we're not. So I'm just like, I was still nice.
Yeah.
I was still nice.
So she was nice, but she did play. Well, I mean, she wasn't playing
I
hard to
wasn't
get. She
playing.
just wasn't interested.
Playing.
Yeah.
I wasn't
So
really
she
playing,
tried to
so.
Tried to get her friend, who apparently was interested, to talk to me. But God had already told me that we were going to be together, so I just waited. Just had to be persistent, and it worked.
Like the brother was so like, he was so professional. Like I felt like I was doing like a job interview, like every time we got together. And like afterwards I was like, yeah. And my other friend thought he was cute. So I was like, hey, this is the girl, that was her name. Wow. And I was like, hey, go sit next to her. And, and I tried to like, get friends together every time it was time to talk. Cause I was like, okay, like.
We don't know.
No,
But it was at Oakland University.
Was it
We're
2012
not really sure
or
what
11?
interaction we had. I had some friends that she had some friends, and then we were like mutual friends deep.
Apparently.
Church. So I guess the best way to go with the story is we were both doing different ministries at church.
Yes.
And her ministry was dealing with children, and she had it was a outreach for military, and she was trying to gather stuff, and so she would have these buckets around the church, and so nobody would ever fill the buckets, and I would like the second or third.
We had a collection box.
Yeah, second or third week they had. By the second or third week, they weren't able to get anything in the collection box, and so I was like, "Well, you need some help carrying it?" She's like, "There's nothing in there. I don't need no help." So I was like, "Okay," and I asked her the next week. She said, "There's nothing in here. I can carry this on my own." So I was like, "Okay."
How long did they go on for?
I don't know, probably about 2 or 3 weeks at least. By the third week, I realized I got to put something in this bucket so that she needs some help taking stuff to the car.
Because I was like, I'm Miss Independent. I don't need your help. Like, I'm okay. The bins are empty. Thank you. You're being so polite because he was such a wonderful deacon at the time. I mean, you still are. But
that's fine. Anyway, that probably the third or fourth week, I go to get stuff and fill the buckets. And so I go, the question, all right, so 2 weeks in a row, she's rejected me from needing help. So I was like, hey, you got stuff in the buckets, you need some help. And she was just like, oh, I guess, yeah, so literally.
Well, no, that's not how it went. It was, oh, I see you got something in your collection box. Do you need any help with the box? And I was like, no, I'm okay. I got something. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm okay. I can carry them myself. And he goes, well, so I purposely purchased those items and put them in the box. And I was like, oh, well, yes, you can help me. That's how that went.
So
He ended up having to say.
Yeah.
At a potluck at Alta and Vinny's house. Yeah, that's how we met.
Okay, so I knew who she was when we were at Oakwood, but we never like talked. It wasn't until here. So when I moved back and she came to go to the Central for law school, we saw each other at church, and it was just kind of like, hey, I know that person. They went to Oakwood.
Yeah.
And then it was so funny because that exact day I was looking for an apartment because I was moving out my parents' house. And she was looking for an apartment. And so that's how we kind of like started talking in the fellowship hall. And then she literally went like this, you know what, that's God. Because when I went to go to this Lisa office, I picked up 2 pamphlets.
I had 2 pamphlets randomly in my
And then
bag.
she was like, so maybe you should just think about it. And then that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah.
9 years in October, November, December, 3.5 months.
4 years. October, November, December, January. And 4 months.
Oh wow.
Do you know?
Yes. So 1 year and 7 months.
I gotta answer these questions because she never remembers stuff. So it's 6 years.
That's why he's my better half.
3 years, April 30th.
A little over 2 months.
Yeah.
44 years.
45 in June 22nd.
Yes, that's my buddy.
That's your
No,
buddy?
that's my sister.
No.
Yuck.
Yes. I think because we didn't have a long courtship, so a lot of the friendship necessarily wasn't there. Like we were friends, but I think as we when we married and as we started living together and whatnot, we became a lot closer over time. And our love just continued to grow. Which in my mind, sometimes you may not necessarily love the person as the way you should start it out, but over time love grows.
Yeah, love is giving the best of yourself to the other person, regardless of how you might be feeling or what you might be going through. And God is love. Without God, marriage can't work because He's the one who created it. So it would make sense that to have a successful marriage, you need to have God at the center. But one thing you find in marriage and probably other relationships, but more so marriage, is when you give the best of yourself to the other person, it's really hard for them not to do the same back to you. And you can see when the other person is having a bad day, but when you see them giving love in spite of that, it really inspires you and really helps to have not only a happy marriage, but a exciting marriage, a marriage where you can see God using you to be a blessing to other people. And, there's no better feeling than to know that, God has used you in spite of how sinful and all the issues that you have to be a blessing to someone else. And so,
Love is indescribable. It's a feeling that you have that you know is just real, that you know is just right. It's unconditional. Nothing anyone can do can change that. Love is real.
Communication, being there when you need each other, crying when she cries, feeling her pain, she feels my pain, knowing that she's always got my back and I have hers.
All of that, and when cause I often need to be checked, and she'll check me. She'll check me when I need to be checked. I'll put it like that.
I would say selflessness.
Inspiration.
What is love? God.
Longevity.
Caring.
Commitment. Caring for one another.
Mutual respect.
Yes.
I'd say generous. I think love is something that you give your all. You give the most that you can. It's a generous thing. It's I think of like God, like He's a generous God to us. When we're loving our spouse, we should, you know, give them our best.
Something genuine.
That comes to mind.
Lincoln Street.
Compromising.
God.
Unconditional.
Word that comes to mind is probably patience. You know, love is patient, love is kind.
What is love? Love is
Sacrificing no matter what.
Yeah.
How you're feeling.
sacrificing no matter what, making it work no matter what. If you love someone, like you're willing to work, move heaven and earth to make it work.
I think love is acceptance when it comes to our relationship.
You gotta accept me.
I think it's just a matter of like being able to be vulnerable and accepting that vulnerability. Because not everybody can be vulnerable, and you can't be vulnerable with everyone and they accept it. There's a difference. So I think I can be vulnerable with Yana, and knowing that she accepts my vulnerability and loves me anyway, even if it's like the worst thing that I feel like, ever.
I proposed on the beach in the summer. Yeah, during a family function. At a family function.
We went back to meet my family, and so while we were there, we went to a park near our house, and while we were walking in the park, I proposed to her.
Yeah, so while we were walking in the park, for some reason we saw a construction site, and we were like, let's walk through that. I don't know why, but we were just like, yeah, let's just go like over there. And we're standing on like dirt, and I'm like looking out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at these palm trees. And then I'm like, all right, time to go. I'm walking, and he's not with me. And then I turn around, and he's like on one knee, and I'm like, oh my goodness, let me get over there. And he's like, hey, Marcia, I love you. I want you to be the mother of my children. Will you marry me? And I was like, yes!
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it was hilarious. I actually did not know. So we were, I'm gonna bring you back. So we were in Kroger. So we're walking through, he didn't propose in Kroger, but we're walking through Kroger, and it was 4th of July, so we were going to his mom's house for barbecue. He'd been telling me all week how he wanted to plan a picnic and how we were gonna have like a picnic for 4th of July this year. So we're through Kroger, and he's just like stopping me every 2 seconds, like, you're so beautiful. Oh my gosh, you look gorgeous today. Oh my goodness, you're just so beautiful. And I'm like, okay, thank you, babe. Like, I appreciate it. I'm not great at like taking, I love words of affirmation, but I'm not great at taking compliments. So it was just really sweet, I'm like, okay. And then we get to his mom's house. We all eat. My best friend had just moved here for nursing school. So it was me, his best friend, my best friend, and yeah. And we were just there, and then they're like, oh, let's go to the park. So we go to the park. We're at Duke Gardens. I just say not just a regular park. He picked a nice one. We're at Duke Gardens, and we're walking. It's hot. It's a beautiful day. It's sunny. And then I hear thunder, and I'm like, oh, it sounds like it's going to rain. And then they're like, no, it's not going to rain. Come on, let's go. So everybody's like sizing me up, and my best friend's like, girl, you look so pretty today. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just threw this on, So we're walking, and then the thunder gets louder, and I'm like, oh, I think that rain is getting closer. And everyone's like, no. Next thing you know, torrential downpour. We are soaked. It's hilarious. And then so we started running, and then we just start walking because it's just like, whatever, it's summer rain, we're having a good time. And then Solomon and the guys go out, and they're looking, and they find a gazebo, the most rom-com thing, super theatrical. They're like, there's a gazebo, let's go underneath the gazebo. We're running underneath the gazebo. My best friend's like, oh my gosh, your hair got so curly, it looks so pretty. I'm like, okay, no, but sure. And then we get into the gazebo, and then we're just standing there, and it gets really quiet, and I'm like, okay. And I turn around, and he's on his knees, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And they're like, no. My best friend's, he's not joking, he's serious. and then he says some really great things, like, the weather's not the best, but you've been the best to me. So romantic, super sweet and loving. And Yeah, and then he proposes.
So my mom tried to drop me some hints, like, you should get your nails done. I was like, I don't need my nails done, da 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 da. And then a couple days later, I go to his house and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna order some food. So he ordered food, he got the food, and then
lying on the couch.
Well, he was like, cause he works in a factory, so he smells, right? So then he was like, I'm gonna go upstairs and take a shower. I was like, okay. So then he takes a shower and comes back down. He's like, well, let's package up the food. I was like, okay. And so I'm like packaging it up, and then I turn around, and then he's off.
Yeah, and then I asked her while we were putting away the food in the kitchen. Yeah.
So he said he wanted to do it at the house, so it would mean something like with a special place.
You have to be intentional. At this stage in the marriage, you really do have to be intentional with your time. I think when you're like newlyweds and even like years settled into the marriage, you don't really appreciate how much time you have, or and so like now that we have a child, we really have to be intentional about the time. We kind of have to plan things around his schedule, or even just kind of plan things ahead of time if we want to have a date night to find childcare for him so that we can have some time together. But I remember when Sebastian was first born, I mean, it was just hard. It's just a whole different, having a child just brings a whole different game to marriage. And so I can see why all the experienced couples would tell us, oh, enjoy it now, have all the good time now.
I think pray for your spouse. So a friend of mine recommended a book. It was like praying for your husband from his head to his toes. And I think that that is really important. There's a lot of things you learn once you get married, your differences and your living together changes. And some of them you have to change yourself, and some of them you want your spouse to change, but trying not to force them to change, trying to pray over them and encouraging them and having God lead that change is critical. I think in any change, because you don't want them to resent you for changing. You want them to make that change within themselves. And I think in the little things, from like picking up laundry that you left on the floor, which he doesn't do, he's really clean, so that's great. But or to like bigger things, you know. So yeah, praying for your spouse.
I can think of two things actually. The first one I'm saying, pick your battles. You know, if you're dating, like I'm sick of this, I'm going home. You're married, it's not happening. So pick your battles. Another thing that I would say is, a lot of people say happy wife, happy life. That's important, but I feel like happy husband is also important. And I feel like a lot of times we don't put emphasis on that. So just focus on keeping your spouse happy, showing love, and being, committed and flexible.
Look, make sure you get one that's a gentleman who actually cares about you, and who cares about your well-being. He's a really good caregiver, and he carries my grocery, and all I have to do is go in the house. Is there anything you need anytime he's going out? If it's raining, he's going to bring an umbrella and bring me in, And so I accept a gentleman. Just make sure he's a gentleman and a kind person and loves God.
Make sure you have all your ducks in a row. I would say from finances to I would tell people even now, what I thought was something that I didn't really think about, and I wouldn't tell anybody is, and I tell everybody who's after me, like, make sure you have childcare figured out early. Cause that's stuff that, you have to figure out almost immediately. So childcare is important. Finances is important. Make sure you have that house in order. But I think ultimately, you both have to be in agreement. Like somebody the other day asked me, I think something about sleeping, like how do we deal with him and sleeping? And so I was just like, you guys have to agree on the sleep. Because we both had different opinions about the sleep part, and we have to come to a resolution. So it's working together and agreeing on certain things. So, because you're gonna both, her how she was raised and how I was raised is two different things.
Right.
And so that's kind of how we were looking at it. And unfortunately, that's not how things are gonna go. Because he's raised by us, not by how we were raised.
Make sure you spend time with your children and give them Jesus starting as early as you can. Bring them to Sabbath school. Bring them to Sabbath school and teach them at home about Jesus, and then live it in front of them, so that if you're no longer with them or they're by themselves in a different city, once they've grown up, they will have a dear friend.
Amen.
And never have any disagreements in front of the kids, ever. Helen and I have never argued.
Never. In front of the children, never, ever.
I think one advice I would say, make sure that you are ready. Make sure that you're ready, and don't look for everything you need in that person. All of the intangibles may not be there, but just like we ourselves, we're unfinished. But if you can build and pour into that person can become what you need with God's help. But don't look for everything you need, because you wouldn't find it.
You have to be a whole person before you come into a relationship. If you are not whole, you're gonna cause problems in it. Do pre-marital counseling, do financial peace course.
Yeah, it's really big.
And pray about it, and be more focused on having a happy future life than being married. Because if you're constantly fighting before, nothing's gonna change after you get married. You're just gonna find more reasons to fight.
Yeah.
That's my best advice.
Go see a therapist.
Yeah, it's alright to talk. It's alright to talk to
each
somebody.
other. Or talk to each other.
Talk to each other. That's important.
Communicating.
And pray. Pray for her. You know, she prays for me.
Good comeback. Good save. Good save, buddy. I mean, my advice for newlyweds is that marriage is not perfect, and it takes committed work. And in your relationship, everything may be wonderful, but when you're in a marriage and you wake up to this person on the day to day, and yes, the Bible says do not, sleep in anger. Sometimes you will, but it's that you have to be intentional on, all right, I married this man. He's not perfect, and remember that you are not perfect, but we're going to make this marriage work in our imperfection. And as long as you put God in the center of it, you are working towards having that perfect marriage with all of its blemishes, but you guys will make it work together, and that it's a team. And in the midst of the ugliness of the team, it's about making it work.
Take time to get to know each other, enjoy each other, have date nights, pray, have devotion with each other. Anything else?
I would agree. The three things I would say, which may echo what you said, three things I would say is pray together, play together, and above all, stay together.
Together. Study the Bible together. Become involved in our church's marriage ministry. It's very practical. It's a lot of fun, and you'll quickly learn that all of the issues that you think you're the only one who's ever had them, all of the other couples have already had those issues, and some of them are still having those issues, and so they're working through it by God's grace, just like the rest of us. So get involved, don't isolate, meet with couples even outside of the marriage ministry time, and just have at least one couple who's been married longer than you that you can talk to openly, that is not going to share your business and give you really good advice, because we had that, we still have that, and it's nice to see when younger couples begin to come to you and ask you questions too. So just have fun with it. Don't be afraid. Be honest with each other about how you feel, and once you start living together, there's going to be a whole lot of things that are going to be completely different. One of you is probably going to be cleaner than the other, and all this type of stuff. And so, yeah, just have fun, and just be open, communicate. Men and women communicate completely differently, And so things that you just assume that the other person will know, they don't. And they cannot read your mind. So share with them everything. And with God, you'll be perfectly fine and you'll really enjoy your marriage.
Trust the process. Trust the person that you're with, and pray. Before you do anything, pray, because there's going to be a lot of opinions. There's going to be a lot of ideas that other people have for you and your fiance that's not really in the plan for you both. So I would say pray, trust the process, and trust the person you're with.
Hey, May. Do you know what love is? What's love? Amen. Do you love your mommy? You love your daddy? Do they love you? Good job. Do you have a best friend? What's her name? All right. How long y'all been friends? Are y'all best friends? And do you love each other? What does love mean? Kylie, what's your best friend name? Maylee. And Maylee, what's your best friend name? Callie. What is that?